Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV, and we will be through 2025. We are in this video, we are in Exodus chapter 35, which goes from verses 1 through 35. So let's jump in. 35. I wonder what that is all about. Sabbath regulations. Moses assembled the whole Israelite community and said to them, "These are the things the Lord has commanded you to do. For 6 days work is to be done, but on the seventh day shall be your holy day, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it must be put to death." That's a very extreme reaction to work. "Do not light a fire in any of your dwellings on the Sabbath day." That's got to make winter really cold. Materials for the tabernacle. Moses said to the whole Israelite community, "This is what the Lord has commanded. From what you have, take an offering for the Lord. Everyone who is willing to bring the Lord an offering of gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, and hides of sea cows." Also, that is dugongs. It's a Dugongs, in case you want to look it up. Acacia wood, olive oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil and the fragrant incense, and onyx stones and other gemstones to be mounted on the ephod and the breastplate. All who are skilled among you are to come and make everything the Lord has commanded: the tabernacle with its tent, its covering, clasps, frames, crossbars, posts, and base, the ark with its poles and atonement cover, and the curtain that shields it, the table with its poles and all its articles, and the presence of the bread of the presence, the lampstand that is for light with its accessories, lamps and the oils for the light, and the altar of incense with its poles, the anointing oil and the fragrant incense, the curtain for the doorway at the entrance of the tabernacle, the altar of the burnt offering with its bronze grating, its poles and all its utensils, the bronze basins with its stands, the curtains of the courtyard with its posts and bases, and the curtain for the entrance to the courtyard, the tent pegs for the tabernacle and for the courtyard, and their ropes, the woven garments for the ministering to the sanctuary, both the sacred garments for Aaron the priest and the garments for his sons when they serve as priests. Then the whole Israelite community withdrew from Moses' presence, and everyone who was willing and whose heart moved him came and brought an offering to the Lord for the work on the tent of meeting, for its service, and for the sacred garments. All who were willing, men and women alike, came and brought gold jewelry of all kinds, brooches, earrings, rings, and ornaments. They all presented their gold as a wave offering to the Lord, so they waved it in front of him. The Lord made a wave offering to the Lord. Everyone who had blue, purple, or scarlet yarn, or fine linen, or goat hair, ram skins dyed red, or hides of sea cows brought them. Those presenting an offering of silver or bronze brought it as an offering to the Lord, and everyone who had acacia wood for any part of the work brought it. Every skilled woman spun with her hands and brought what she spun, blue, purple, or scarlet yarn of fine linen, and all the women who were willing and had the skill spun the goat hair. The leaders brought onyx stones and other gems to be mounted on the ephod and the breastplate. They also brought spices and olive oil for the light, and for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense. All of the Israelite men and women who were willing brought the Lord free will offerings for all the work the Lord, through Moses, had commanded them to do. So they were all just quite willing to go, okay, you want those things? Okay. Hold on. I got this right yesterday. Hold on. Bezalel and Oholiab. That's the next section. Then Moses said to the Israelites, see, the Lord has chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, U-R-I, the son of Hur, from the tribe of Judah, and he has filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, ability, and knowledge in all kinds of crafts, to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and to engage in all other artistic craftsmanship. And he has given both him and Oholiab, the son of, hold on. Okay, so Ahisamach, Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, the ability to teach others. Oh. He has filled him with the skills to do all kinds of work of craftsmen, designers, embroiderers in blue, purple, and scarlet, I don't know why I said it like that, scarlet yarn and fine linen, and weavers, all of them the master craftsmen and designers. So, okay. That's way cool. I'm more with the Oholiab side of people with what I do for a living. So, until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we're in Bible study. We are in the NIV, and we will be through the rest of 2025. In 2026, we'll start the KJV, because we want to read as many different versions of the Bible as we can. In this video, we are in Exodus chapter 36, and 36 picks up where we left off in with chapter 35, with hearing about Bezalel and Oholiab, which, well, they've been gifted with the ability to know all the crafts between the two of them. So Bezalel and Oholiab, and every skilled person to whom the Lord had given skill and ability to know how to carry out the work of constructing the sanctuary, are to do the work just as the Lord has commanded. Then Moses summoned Bezalel and Oholiab, and every skilled person to whom the Lord had given the ability and who was willing to come and do the work. They received from Moses all the offerings the Israelites brought to carry out the work of constructing the sanctuary. And all the people continued to bring free will offerings morning after morning. So the more supplies came in, and then of course they needed to be sorted and all that stuff. So all the skilled craftsmen who were doing all the work on the sanctuary left their work and said to Moses, the people are bringing more than enough for doing the work the Lord commanded to be done. They're like, we got more than we need. What should we do? Then Moses gave an order, and they sent this word throughout the camp. No man or woman is to make anything else as an offering for the sanctuary. And so the people were restrained from bringing more, because what they already had was more than enough to do all the work. Because remember, I know it seems like we're thinking, back at a certain time period in history, and we're thinking that there are a small number of people. No, there were 600,000 of them when they left Egypt. There were 600,000 of them. So that's a lot of people with a lot of resources. You could see how they could end up filling the need of what they had in actually a rather short amount of time if everybody had gathered all these things up and left with them. Especially since they were told, ask your neighbors for things. So the Egyptians wanting to not be like, please, maybe God won't hit us and they'll skip this household if we, that's what, you got to think how their people around them were thinking. Doesn't do you any good to ask your Jewish neighbors for things if they're also going with you on this trek. Everybody's got the same stuff then, right? Pooling resources becomes necessary in this kind of mass migration we're talking about. The tabernacle. All the skilled men among the workmen made the tabernacle with 10 curtains of finely twisted linen and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, with cherubim worked into them by skilled craftsmen. Also, they were embroidered, is what they're saying. All the curtains were the same size, 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. That is about 42 feet or 12.5 meters long and about 6 feet or 1.8 meters wide. So it was actually not all that wide, 6 feet wide. Then they joined 5 of the curtains together. So that would make 30 feet. Well, is that 30? Yeah. And did the same with the other 5. Okay. Then they made loops of blue material along the edge of the curtain in one set. And the same was done with the edge of the curtain in the other set. They also made 50 loops on one curtain and 50 loops on the end curtain of another set, with the loops opposite each other. Then they made 50 gold clasps and used them to fasten these 2 sets of curtains together so that the tabernacle was a unit. Of course, this is a unit they have to be able to break down and move, right? Along with anything else they have to move for their own possessions. They have to be able to move this too, and then be able to put it back up wherever they've settled into for any length of time. So you have to, like, this is a tent. I mean, that's the reality. You have to think of it as sort of like, you know, they didn't always have this, you know, polyester kind of tents like we have now. They used to be made of like canvas and things like that, so they could be waterproofed, you know, sort of like sails, and made of like the same kind of material as sailing material. But this is even older than that. Now, fortunately, they're in a desert, so rain is not necessarily what they're so much concerned with, as much as it is not being in the heat of the sun. Because when you live in the desert and it's the middle of the hot of the day, shade is your first thing that you're looking for. Shade and water. And hopefully you can find the 2 of those together. That would be the ideal. They made curtains of goat hair for the tent over the tabernacle, 11 altogether. All 11 curtains were the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. We got B. That is about 45 feet long and about 6 feet wide, and 45 feet is 13.5 meters. As and again, 6 feet, 1.8 meters. So, you know, it's a uniform width, right? And that's important because it has to do with how they can be joined together. They joined 5 of the curtains in one set and the other 6 into another set. They made 50 loops along the edge of the curtain in one set and along the other side at the edge of the curtain in another set. They made 50 bronze clasps to fashion the tent together as a unit. Then they made for the tent a covering of ram skins dyed red, and over that a covering of the hides of sea cows, which is dugongs, Dugongs. I don't know. That's how it sounds like it should be said to me. So hopefully that's actually the case. I apologize to these sea cows if that's not the case. They're hides for the waterproofing materials. They made upright frames of acacia wood for the tabernacle. Each frame was 10 curtains long and 10 cubits long and a cubit and a half wide. So 5 D is that is about 15 feet or 4.5 meters long, and 2.25 feet or about 0.7 meters wide. So not quite 5. With 2 projection sets parallel to each other, they made the frames of the tabernacle in this way. They made 20 frames for the south side of the tabernacle, and they made 40 silver bases to go under them, 2 bases for each frame, 1 under each projection. So they had it up off the ground. For the other side, the north side of the tabernacle, they made 20 frames and 40 silver bases, 2 under each frame. They made 6 frames for the far end, that is, the west end of the tabernacle, and 2 frames were made for the corners of the tabernacle at the far end. At these 2 corners, the frames were doubled from the bottom all the way to the top and fitted into a single ring. That would make it like a bearing wall. It can handle, it's doubled so it can handle more weight. It's like, think of it's probably what you would think of as like an internal support. Because you'll note that they're not even, right? They have 5 curtains over here, 6 curtains over there, right? So it's not even. That means the weight isn't necessarily going to be even either. At these 2 corners, the frames were doubled from bottom all the way to the top and fitted into a single ring. Both were made alike. So there were 8 frames and 16 silver bases, 2 under each frame. So a series of weight bearing. They also made crossbars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames on one side of the tabernacle, 5 for those on the other side, and 5 for the frames on the west at the far end of the tabernacle. They made a center crossbar so that it extended from end to end at the middle of the frame. So they're talking about the structure at the top. Because they talked about the walls, that's what the double up was. And then cross beams, that's when you start connecting these sets of walls that are on the opposite side of each other, so you have something to put the tent on. Like the materials, the curtains and stuff they're talking about. They made the center crossbar so that it extended from end to end of the middle frame. Yeah, right down, that's where they're putting their bearing weight. They overlaid the frames with gold and made gold rings to hold the crossbars. Then they also overlaid the crossbars with gold. They made the curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen, with cherubim worked in by skilled craftsmen. They made 4 posts of acacia wood for it and overlaid them with gold. They made gold hooks for them and cast their 4 silver bases. For the entrance to the tent, they made a curtain of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely twisted linen with the work of an embroiderer, and they made 5 posts with hooks for them. They overlaid the tops of the posts and their bands with gold and made their 5 bases bronze. So the bottom is the bottom of these bases is bronze, but the tops are gold. So there's a lot of gold and silver and fine metals, but you think of them as, because they're not talking about fastening agents. Because they're not talking about glue. They're not talking about nails. They're not talking about any of those other things to hold these pieces of wood that they've overlaid with gold in place. So these bases and things are going to have the places for like a post to sit in the middle. And then if it was going to have a floor, it would need a place for those supports to sit in it over here so that it could come into like sort of a catty corner situation to lock these pieces of wood in place. That's why the bases and the other things, because this is what the wood is falling onto in order to lock it in place. That's why the double places where they have like the bearing walls to help hold it in place. It's just, I mean, if you look at what we do with tents now, because you're not talking about a rounded dome, you're talking about they made a flat roof over top of it. If you actually start looking at what they're talking about. Because they're not talking about any kind of slopes. They're not talking about any of that kind of stuff. So it's all flat. The tabernacle is not a pitched tent. So you have to then take a look at what you would need to make that sort of flat structure, but out of something bendable. If you wanted to test to see, like if you were a person who was like, hey, I wonder, and you wanted to play around with this, you could get yourself a couple of different types of PVC pipe, and without even gluing anything, you would need to get a PVC cutter so you could get the right dimensions that you wanted. And you could start trying to construct this to see what it would look like to support this sort of thing. Not something I'm going to particularly engage in, because I have done that sort of thing for different projects for myself or any number of things around the house. So I know for what they're talking about, because they would have to strap these things together to give them that strong structure, and that, I mean, but then this is the industry for the last 25 years, the design into construction. So until next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Bible study. There'll be 3 videos today, because again, we're in the Niv. Okay, I know that makes lots of emotional reactions. It's just the first book. Stick with me. We're going to go through all of them. We're going to read every word of all of them. And if I see things in there where I'm like, hey, I don't like that, I'll say so. Trust me. Because I'm not looking to make it like this is the ultimate version of the Bible. It's just a version. So in this, we're in Matthew. We're going to be in chapter 27. And we're going to go verses 1 through 31. And then in the next video, we will finish the rest of chapter 27. Because it's 66 verses. So I'm breaking it, basically, in half. Not quite half, but close enough. It's based on the parables. All right, so chapter 27, verse 1. Judas hangs himself. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people came to the decision to put Jesus to death. They bound him, led him away, handed him over to Pilate, the governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 coins to the chief priests and elders. I have sinned, he said, for I have betrayed innocent blood. What is that to us? They replied. That's your responsibility. He can't undo that kind of sin once it's done. So they're like, too bad for you. So Judas threw the money into the temple and left. Then he went away and hanged himself, which of course is a sin. The chief priest picked up the coins and said, it's against the law to put this money in the treasury, since it's blood money. So they decided to use the money to buy the potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. That is why it has been called the field of blood to this day. Then what was spoken by Jeremiah, the prophet, was fulfilled. They took the 30 silver coins, the price set on him by the people of Israel, and they used them to buy the potter's field, as the Lord commanded me. Zechariah 11, chapter 11, verses 12 and 13. Jeremiah chapter 19, verses 1 through 13, and 32, 6 through 9. Next parable, Jesus before the Pilate. It's not really a parable, but that's just what they have at the top. Jesus before Pilate. Verse 11. Still in chapter 27. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor and the governor asked him, are you the king of the Jews? Yes, it is as you say, Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, don't you hear the testimony they bring against you? But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge. To the great amazement of the governor, he gave a non-reaction. Now it was the governor's custom at the feast to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At this time, they had a notorious prisoner, Barabbas. So when the crowd was gathered, Pilate asked to them, which one do you want me to release, Barabbas or Jesus, who was called Christ? for he knew it was out of envy that they handed over Jesus to him. Like, he didn't see a real crime here. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him this message: "Don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." Ooh, so he was forewarned. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" asked the governor. "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called Christ?" They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" they asked. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him." When Pilate saw that this was getting nowhere, but instead an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood. It is your responsibility. So as you reap, so shall you sow." They tried to throw that sin back onto Judas, and then Pilate just threw that sin back onto the Jewish people. Understand that in this climate that Pilate is in, if the Jewish people rebelled one more time, he was going to be killed by his emperor. And the Roman people have this tendency that if there's too many in the history of the Roman, I'm not talking about modern day Rome, I'm talking about conquering Rome. They had this history at this time of, if your religion causes too much problems, you are not allowed to worship it. We will remove it from you. And you will worship our religions, or you will die. So, that Inquisition thing didn't come out of nowhere. They sort of had a history of that in the Roman culture already. Verse 25 here. All the people answered, "Let his blood be on us and on our children." Whew. That's not so good. Then he released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. He wasn't really just flogged, was he? It was a bit extra. The soldiers mock Jesus. Verse 27. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus to the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him, and then they twisted together a crown of thorns, and they set it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand and knelt in front of him and mocked him. "Hail, King of the Jews," they said. They spit on him, and they took the staff and struck him on the head again and again after they mocked him. They took off the robe and put his clothes on him, and then they led him away to be crucified. And how is anybody? I mean, it's terrible what they're doing there, of course, on all levels to any people, especially painful in the heart that it's Jesus. Such cruelty. I am incapable of understanding the need for such cruelty to anything on that level. That's why I very firmly hold the belief that our ancestors were less human than we are right now. Because really being a full human, if we were in our full human state, we would all by default react to everybody like Jesus did. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy, and I'm an ordained minister. We're in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we will be till the end of 2025. In this video, we are in Psalms, Book 1. We are in Psalm 34, and we're not doing all of the Psalm in this video. We're doing verses 1 through 10, and you can come back tomorrow to hear the rest of the poem. This is a Psalm of David when he pretended to be insane before Abimelech, who drove him away, and he left. This is part of how he kept himself safe. Abimelech, you would remember from the book of Genesis that name in Egypt. So it's just a type of name that is in the area. I will extol the Lord at all times. His praise will be on my lips. My soul will boast in the Lord. Let the afflicted hear and rejoice. Glorify the Lord with me. Let us exalt his name together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame. This poor man called, and the Lord heard him. He saved him out of all his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Fear the Lord, you his saints. For those who fear him lack nothing. Amen to that. The lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. That's a good reminder. Every little blessing comes from him first.